What's up, everyone? We're back. Coach AB, Anthony Bevilacqua, alongside to my co-host today, Tom Merck.
What's up? What's going on?
Nothing much, man. How's it going?
It's good, man. It's good.
We got some good feedback on the last episode. People like the way I say Tom Merck.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
A lot of O's in there, a lot of extra O's. So, man, I have a really cool topic that I want to talk about today. And, I'm going to start this off and hopefully you guys can, well, for those of you watching, you'll be able to see what I'm about to show Tom. But for those of you who are listening to this, you can click the link in the description and you could actually watch this, not live, whatever. You can actually watch the recording here. But I'm going to share my screen because I'm really curious. This is going to be a whole talk for today. But all right, so let's share the screen. All right, so.
Oh, no.
Please tell me you saw this video.
I did not.
Okay, so we're going to be talking today about World Carnivore Month, apparently, and eating raw meat. So there's this guy right here. For those of you who can't see this clip right now, there's this guy on the screen here who apparently for 55 days in a row has eaten raw meat. This guy is literally sitting outside. It looks like Stop and Shop or whatever, some type of grocery store here. And he is literally took a pack of meat, opened it up and is eating it like a sandwich. And he just looks miserable while he's doing it. Look at his face right now, Tom.
I could tell that is actually tasteless by how his expression looks.
Look at his face. So I actually clicked on his page, right? This guy's page. And I went through like a bunch of his other things because I'm like, this can't be real. I'm like, this is just whatever. So there's a bunch of videos of him doing this with random things. But dude, look at this one. This is the worst one. Where is it? If I can find it. This one. Look at this. I couldn't believe this. I'm like, why would you do that? Look at it.
Oh, no.
So again, guys, if you can't see this, you can click the link in the description. But he is literally eating salmon raw. I mean, that's sushi, so I guess that's kind of normal. But like the way he's eating it, like, dude, are you opposed to using a fork and a knife? Like, I don't understand. What do you? The camel milk too is another thing. But I'm just like, dude, like, what are you doing? Look at this.
Oh my gosh, man.
Oh, that's raw chicken breast. That's disgusting. No, he's not.
I definitely disagree with this movement.
Oh my God, that is disgusting. I didn't see this, but this is disgusting.
Look at the comments. You wild AF for this one. How is your bowel movement after? Oh my gosh.
That's disgusting. Oh, that's disgusting. I mean, like he's eating like raw meat and stuff, like just whatever. I don't know. I don't get the point of this, but apparently this is like a new trend right now, like eating actual raw meat. So I want to talk about this. Should you, like, what the F is going on here? What goes on in the world today? And I swear to God, guys, this has to be, I don't know how many followers he has. He has 21,000 followers. But like, this is what gets attention nowadays. And this is the problem with fitness. And this is why I laugh all the time about fitness 2022. It's a joke. This is why everyone looks at fitness as a complete joke because of people and things. I'm not blaming this guy, but like things like this. Like this is just why? I do not understand it. So I'm hoping to actually go through this episode today, possibly understand this, and then also explain to people why this is not necessary at all. So Tom, first and foremost, I mean, you watch those videos, we had the same reaction pretty much. What are your thoughts on this wildness?
Oh, well, I think there's like a few things to unpack here. And the first one is obviously when people share information on social media, they're supporting their own bias, so obviously nothing against this person, at all. I just don't agree with what they're doing, but they're obviously sharing that what they do and what they are doing is what they enjoy, right? So it's kind of like me sharing, split squats are the best exercise. And I think a lot of the time when people share things on social media, they forget how people will perceive it. So he's basically telling all of his people, oh, look, eating raw meat is cool. It's good. You know, he may not be directly telling them, hey, go eat raw meat. But if you're demonstrating it, then it's almost like
no, he's
sharing.
definitely telling people. Well, I don't know this guy again. Like I clicked off his page already. Someone sent me that video, so that's why I'm sharing it.
Yeah,
But like,
I didn't actually see if he's telling people, but I definitely disagree with it. As a coach, as a nutrition coach, it is way too irresponsible and risky to tell somebody to go eat raw meat. I've actually had people tell me that their nutritionist and nutrition coach is having them eat raw foods. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, is a calorie deficit like no longer good? Is it no longer good enough to get people results that they have to resort to like these extreme methods and things? Like, by the way, if you're wondering, calorie deficit is still the king or queen of what breeds fat loss results and energy deficit. So it definitely is not ineffective by any means. You're like scarred
makes
from
any
it.
sense. I mean, this is this is just I'm trying to read like an article that I pulled up here, but it's like none of it makes any sense to me. It's like, so apparently, from what I understand, and again, I could be totally wrong because I'm not a carnivore like person, like one of those. I'm not like one of those people who fall into like these realms of just like, okay, this is the method that I use, and that's kind of it, you know. But apparently, from what I understand, when someone follows the carnivore diet, they basically say that they get better health benefits from it, and that it also helps with like their stomach, and like they've had like severe stomach issues eating carbs, and now that they took all the carbs out and they're just eating meats, their stomach is like perfect. They have no more pains. But please explain to me how eating a banana is effing up your stomach, but eating raw meats doesn't F up your stomach. How could that even be possible? I don't understand it. It's like, you know, as a party trick, the joke to the kids, like I was cracking raw eggs in a cup the other day and I was drinking them, and like my stomach was killing me for hours after that. It's like, how could you say like the carbs are bothering your stomach, but eating raw meat is not? I don't get how. I mean, I've never tried it and I probably won't because I like the taste of cooked food, but it's just, I don't know. I'm like beside myself.
Yeah, I think well, I think the fact that, you know, you have to take into consideration, like, you know, raw food carries like bacteria, then there's the risk for salmonella and I believe E. coli and food poisoning, of course. So it's like, those are all things that you can just get rid of essentially if you cook your food appropriately. And I think a lot of the stuff nowadays, as far as like nutrition goes, it's like an anti-carb, like, I don't know, like view of things. Like carbs are like the first thing people look at and they're like, it's got to be the carbs. Got to be the carbs. I lost over 80 pounds eating like quite a lot of carbs every day, and I'm obviously not close to 300 pounds anymore. So the diet worked as far as lifestyle changes and long-term perspective goes. And you could say that that just worked for me, but you know, there's a likely chance that eating less, you know, in general will help you, and it's not inherently or deliberately the carbs that are causing this thing. If you have carbs in your day that you would identify, or a coach would identify as like a trigger food, sure, maybe it's the food itself doesn't necessarily have to be a carb, but it could be anything. You could just have little self-control around certain foods, which is a lot of the time an issue when it comes to like certain people and things like that.
All right, so I pulled up a couple of articles while we were chit-chatting, and it's many people assume that raw meat is dangerous because of the level of bacteria and or parasites present in it, as the cooking process bacteria and parasites. People presume that eating meat when it's raw must be bad for you. However, vast majority of meat-borne diseases occur because of inappropriate food preparation or poor meat quality. So while the risk of bacteria being present in raw meat is higher than in cooked meat, choosing meat from a reputable source and preparing it properly can mitigate this risk. In fact, a good quality piece of raw meat only carries a minuscule risk of making you unwell as long as it's prepared properly.
I mean, I feel like you're just like rolling a dice. Like without cooking your food, or like meat specifically, I feel like anything you eat can contain something unless you cook it, and then it's, you know, lower risk, I guess, if you want to call it that.
So apparently there was an experiment. I'm reading this as we speak. So it says here, people who practice raw meat eating consistently notice improved or eased digestion. Again, I don't know how that could even be possible because it just anyway, they feel lighter and also have more energy. Now we can get into that because that right there, feeling lighter and having more energy, it's because they were probably eating way too much processed crap in the beginning, and now they're not eating that and they're experiencing that benefit from that and not so much from the raw meat, and they're just associating, oh, it's because I'm eating raw meat with that. But anyway, surely cooking your foods make the nutrients more bioavailable. So in 1984, a Russian scientist named Alexander Ugolov, whatever, sorry, person, did an experiment with two frogs, one cooked and one raw. Each frog was put into a cup that was filled with hydrochloric acid, the acid present in our stomachs. The results were interesting to say the least. The raw frog completely dissolved, while the pre-cooked frog remained mostly intact with only moderate changes to its surface. The reason is that the cells in the raw frog underwent autolysis, which means self-destruction when put in HCl. In other words, in the presence of hydrochloric acid, the raw frog digested itself, and the cooked frog was unable to do this due to chemical changes caused by cooking. So there you go, Tom Merck.
That's like very, like, I guess, in depth, if you want to say that. We're looking at, like, you know, like the environment of like your gut and the digestion process. But I don't know. I mean, you could just, I don't even know. You could probably find foods that are just easier on your stomach. But that would basically mean, if we're cherry picking this study or this, you know, article here, that would basically mean that all raw foods are easier to digest. Yeah. So does that mean, do we correlate that with, oh, let me just eat all my foods raw because it's easier to digest? I would even question, how do you know it's actually that food that's giving you like digestion issues?
Right.
Right. Like there are so many legitimate tests out there that you can go see like a doctor or like a, I don't know, a gut health expert for. And I feel like 99% of people don't do that. They just say, man, it's got to be the bread that's just killing my stomach. And when you look at like everything else in their day, it's like, well, it's probably a mix of like, you know, everything. It's probably a mix of having like a 350 calories like coffee drink in the morning and then not eating for like another 8 hours and then having like Skittles for a snack and then going into having like a banana, and then you have like this massive meal for dinner and you snack at night, which we see definitely a lot of. And it's like, that is not a fundamental like normal eating pattern. That is definitely not balanced by any means. If you're talking about distributing food over the course of your day when you're awake, that's just like, I don't know, like going, like waking up and finding something you enjoy and then like suffering and then just like eating as much food as you can before you go to bed.
Yeah, most people, I mean, just, I don't know why people just like don't believe this concept, but a lot of people just think like it's the foods. It's just, it's not the foods. It's because you're fat and unhealthy and your body fat is too high. And that's just what it comes down to. You know, you feel better because you're losing body fat. When you're losing body fat, you're actually getting healthier. Your health markers improve. I mean, these are things that happen. And like, yes, is there a certain instance where somebody needs to be on a certain specific type of diet for a certain specific type of reason? Absolutely. But just to say like, oh, my stomach was bothering me and now it doesn't bother me. It's like, well, is it not bothering you because of what you were eating before and now your diet's different now? Or is it because you're eating raw meat? Like, yeah. And so now, and we're going to circle back in a second, but like, I just have a question, you know, so if I cook the meat, but I still follow the carnivore diet, am I not going to get all the benefits out of it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like what's the, you know, I don't know. So for people who are listening to this, who are a little confused on where this is like kind of coming from, I mean, I agree with you. I'm confused too, but basically what this is basically the carnivore diet, essentially. So Tom, do you want to explain what the carnivore diet is?
Yeah, so basically you're just eating meat. I think it's specifically red meat for pretty much every meal. And there's there's essentially no carbs in your day, very little carbs, I'll say that. Some vegetables, I've seen some variations where people have like carrots. I actually have a bunch of carrots here, raw carrots as well. So, I'm making my way to the raw meat.
I thought it wasn't any vegetables.
I saw somebody post something about how they added carrots to like their post-workout meal because they wanted some kind of like carb source to like replenish glycogen. And I was like, carrots are like a pretty slower digesting carb source.
Unlike keto, which limits carbs a certain amount of day, the carnivore diet aims for exactly 0 carbs per day. You can only eat meat, fish, eggs, and some animal products. You exclude all other food groups, vegetables, fruits, grains, nuts, seeds, and so on.
So you're not even able to have nuts or seeds either.
Yeah.
Which would technically, I guess, be classified as like a fat source because you can make nut and seed butter and things like that. But so I guess carnivore is 0 carbs.
0.
It's just all meat. It's like the opposite of keto, but I guess you're just getting like, you're getting as much protein. I want to know if the reason why the carbs are 0 is because if you have a lot of protein intake, I think it's, what is it? Gluconeogenesis, which is where proteins converted to glucose. If they're kind of like betting on that process to give them carb or glucose throughout the day, because they're having a lot of protein.
It's funny because like, I don't really, I've been doing this for years and I know what a sustainable diet kind of looks like. So I don't really venture every time like these things pop up, and this has been around for a while. I just never really look into any of this stuff. So it's just kind of like not new to me, so to say, but like it just blows my mind how people like, listen, some people do respond better to lower carbs. I'm not disagreeing with that. We've had clients who just do better when their carb intake is lower, and it is what it is, right? It's just, that's certain people's genetics. But just like some of these things, like obviously you're ruling out whenever there's something that says don't do this, that's usually a big telltale sign that that's something you shouldn't be following. Like, how could you literally sit here and tell me like you're never going to have a strawberry again?
Yeah.
Or an apple or a banana.
I mean, listen, that's exactly what these diets are. They're extreme ends of nutrition. They're in like the corner in their own little area. I think a part of it too is like developing like a cult-like kind of like thing, like keto, and even like if it fits your macros is pretty cult-like, but everything in moderation, including moderation. But I don't know. I think that it's just another example of like an extreme diet to follow. And of course, it's going to get people to click on it and view it, because when you have coaches that are like, hey, you need to manage how many calories you take in per day to keep you in a calorie deficit so that you lose weight, nobody wants to hear that because it's the most boring thing ever. I just got tired finishing that sentence. Whereas somebody would be like, hey, if you eat only red meat and nothing else, you're going to get shredded, your blood markers are going to improve, and you're going to get like the most insane performance ever. Somebody's going to be like, oh, really? Okay, let me click that. And they're going to be drawn to it because it's catchy. It's marketing, I guess. I don't know.
But now going back to, I agree with you 100%, but going back to what I showed you and what people watched in the beginning of this with the kid eating the raw meat, or guy, whoever that guy is, eating the raw meat. How does anybody want to emulate that? Like, he doesn't even look like he's having a good time eating that. I mean, listen, and I was talking about this with somebody yesterday. Like, look, I would love to eat all my meat raw because you know how much time I would save?
Yeah.
No more cooking, no more cleaning, just eating right out of the pack. But that's disgusting. And
I would also be worried about like
chicken again.
Yeah, I don't know. I would also argue to say that like, how would your social life, because food is not just fuel. I disagree with people who say, oh, food is fuel. Obviously it's fuel, but it's also like a part of everything, like your nationality, your social life, like it's a part of like your wedding day. It's a part of every aspect of life. Like my mom personally cooks like delicious foods because that's the way she shows love for our family. And after I understood that, I'm like, okay, now I know why there's food in the house that's not very supportive, but it's delicious, because that's her way of showing love. Food is much more than just fuel. But I don't know, that guy's face, it's very extreme to say, okay, if you go to a barbecue, never eating, hey, can you just give me a raw patty? I would find somebody like that would
Hold
be
the bun.
very,
Hold the bun. The bun's gonna make me fat, but I'll take that raw right over here.
yeah.
Don't pour the cheese on it, but I'll eat it raw.
Yeah, throws it on the grill. Oh, no, get it off of there. You're gonna ruin it. You know, I feel like that's quite extreme, and it would be very impractical for people's actual lives. Like, no, by the way, I will also add this: no business place will serve you raw food unless it's tartar or sashimi grade food and thing. I think it's sashimi, right?
Yeah.
Things like that. There is probably not a single restaurant out there that will give you like a raw piece of meat that's not like sushi grade or tartar grade and things like that. How are you gonna you're gonna have to prep, you're gonna have to put like raw meat in a container, just take it around you everywhere, you know?
Well, that guy just went to Stop and Shop and just bought the thing and sat down right in the parking lot and just chomped away on his meat sandwich.
Listen, he obviously found a way to make it work. I give him credit for finding a way to make it work. I disagree with his methods.
But here's my thing, Tom. Now, maybe he did experience benefit from eating raw meat. Okay, we'll give him the benefit of that. Maybe he does feel better, right? So he's associating his results with that. So now he's putting it up online. He's documenting himself online eating this. And he obviously goes a little bit viral because like I saw it and, other people saw the video.
Yeah.
And now he's getting people who are following him who are doing the same thing. And there's a lot of guys that do this. I mean, that guy, the Liver King, does it too. He's eating raw testicles. Literally raw.
And people will look at him. People will look at him and be like, that guy is shredded and jacked. And of course I'm going to do what he does because he's shredded and jacked. I think it's a very slippery slope because when these people have lots and lots of followers asking them for what they do and why they do it, what is the first thing that they do? Oh, I can sell them something. And now they're going to profit from it. And it's just them selling their own personal bias and making money off of it. And now they're in a big group where nobody disagrees. And it's a dangerous slope. I would be more interested in understanding every possible reason why that would help somebody. And why are you voiding the risks to doing that? Give me the pros and the cons before anything.
But I think it's just it's all taken to an extreme. He's sitting outside Stop and Shop. He cut open the thing and is eating the thing. Dude, use a spoon or whatever. Use a fork. I don't know how you would even cut.
Put it on a.
He's sitting there eating the salmon like this. Dude, cut it with a knife.
Yeah, I know that's
for the video. You're doing that for the video. You're doing that on purpose for attention.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, so the bottom line is, do you need to eat raw meat to actually lose body fat, get in better shape, and to feel better? And the answer is no. And Tom mentioned this before. And the truth to everything is always kind of in the middle. And I believe that a true balanced diet is going to get you there better long-term. It's more sustainable long-term. And this is why we practice flexible dieting and just understanding nutrition in general. But this is what's going to get you there long-term. Tom had mentioned on the last podcast that we talked about, hey, I don't like to log my cannolis on my birthday. But the fact of the matter is that you can have that ability. What is someone who's following the carnivore diet, even if they're not eating the meat raw, if they're just following the meat diet like that, you're never going to have another carb again? Think about that person. You're never going to have another carb again, ever. Oh, no, it's a cheat day. But then it's funny because then those people classify as no, it's a cheat day. It's what?
I think, another issue is sometimes and as a coach, it's very important for us to understand this because if somebody asks us what we do, it's oh, we're strength and nutrition coaches and accountability coaches. And it's okay, cool. What do you do for fun? So I work out and I do activity. I play sports and it's cool. What do you do outside the gym? I talk to my, what's up?
I work out.
Yeah, I work out and I hang out with my friends who happen to be athletes or coaches and stuff. And it's okay, well, you don't really know what the life of a busy mom looks like. So are you going to tell her to go and eat raw meat? And are you going to tell her to serve raw meat to her kids? That's not very practical. I think that it's just working for him and he's just running with it. I think it is for the views mainly.
Well, there's a lot of big famous people who follow the carnivore diet. I think Joe Rogan follows that type of diet too, I believe. I could be wrong.
I know he's big on like certain vegetables. Like I see him, he's big with like elk and things like that. But he does have
elk
like,
is not a vegetable.
oh no, sorry. No. I'm saying like he has like he's big on elk, but he also pairs it with like peppers and things like that. Yeah, because I do I know.
Just in case
I do follow, I think everybody follows Joe Rogan, but I guess he cooks really good because the food he posts looks freaking great. And the cutting board and the knives, I'm like, damn, that looks like a great setup. But I know that he shares like some of his meals with like some vegetables or some like peppers and things like that, which is pretty cool. But I mean, it could go like, if you kind of oversimplify it for a moment here, if somebody has like protein and vegetables and some fat like spread out throughout their day and carbs before and after their training routine, that'll probably bring you like decent results until you have to specifically start engineering things differently. It's just managing it.
I think that when people follow these types of extreme diets like carnivore or keto, which is pretty similar, I think that it just becomes ease of use. And I think that's where they fall into that trap. Okay, I'm following carnivore. I only have to eat. It's very easy because my food is in a limited window for what I have to eat. I only eat meat. I don't eat anything else. I eat meat, cheese, dairy, and that's it, or whatever was on the list. Everything outside of that bubble, I don't eat. So now, if I'm out with my friends, perfect. I could follow this. I could follow keto. I'll take the steak. No vegetables. It's very easy to follow. And I can see how people fall into this trap because it's easy to avoid everything.
Yeah.
But again, coming back to what we said, that's like impossible to do forever. Like you can do that for an extended period of time. I was competing in bodybuilding. I got down to really low levels of body fat. And I had to restrict my diet very, very, at the time, I didn't know what I was doing, but I restricted my diet very, very hard because I wanted to get in really, really good shape. And you get such a swing back in the other direction when you do that. So for example, I've never really was a sweet person or anything like that. The entire time I dieted for this show, I craved cereal. Cereal. I don't know what it was. I just craved cereal because I wasn't allowed to have milk, no dairy. God forbid you have dairy. And just cereal was like, of course, that's like poison, right? No, you're not allowed to have that. And I craved that the entire time. When the show was over, I must have had like 3 boxes of cereal. And it's like,
oh my God,
because I was restricted of it for such a long, long time. So it's like people forget that. And if you just factor in a bowl of cereal and a little bit of milk, because if that's what you want, if I would have did that, let's just say I would have did that every day during my prep or whatever it was, whenever I wanted it, I wouldn't have had 3 boxes at the end.
Yeah.
So, and that just goes, like I said, balance all around. But I do think that's where people fall into it because it just becomes ease of use.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't challenge themselves in the aspect where it's like, okay, I'm going to take myself where I am right now and wait for life to get easier. That is like a really horrible thing to do. It's not a very supportive thing to do because you don't make any progress waiting. You're essentially trying to wait on something you have essentially no control over. You can't literally control every variable of life. It's like, I don't know. I had a friend who was like, you know what? I'm going to get back on my training. I'm going to start training smart after my kid turns 2 years old, 3 years old, and then I'm going to go back into it. But I'm like, what's the reason for that? And they're like, I just want to wait for it to get easier. Well, how about you do whatever you can do right now, knowing that your life is asking a lot of you? Just do whatever you can do. Do something. It's better than nothing. And then you could slowly start to, I would say, like sharpen your skills, start to get a little bit better so that if life doesn't get any easier, you become better, you become stronger, you become more resilient, you become more of a winner or more, disciplined. You start to bring yourself up because you can control that firsthand instead of these external factors that you really don't have control over.
That always makes me laugh too when people say like, I'm going to do this after this. It's like, well, why not today? What's the problem?
I had a friend of mine tell me that we were in the gym, like talking in between a set, and I'm crazy. I will literally put 2 minutes on my Apple Watch and make sure I rest for that time. Sometimes I go over, or sometimes I get stuck in a conversation, but I had a friend who was like, I'm going to start training smart after the New Year's. And I was like, what are you doing right now then? Are you training? Well, what is your training? Why is your training not smart now? What would you even say it is? Is it dumb training? Is it useless training? I think they were just like, oh, I'll start focusing more on my form and how I'm going to, get stronger after. And I was like, the best time to do that is this next set. Just take it slow and just do the right thing, or go do the appropriate thing. Go lighter weight, focus on moving really, really like well. And then once you have a good foundation, start going up,
It's just people are so soft, man. No one wants to change and no one wants to do the hard thing. And that's just what it comes down to. It's just like I said, no one wants to do the hard thing. Why should I follow the carnivore diet? Because it's easy. You stay in your little box of foods that you get to choose, and that's it. You don't got to think. And I get that to some extent, right? Like for someone who really, I don't want to say doesn't give a crap, but like someone who just like, I want to lose a bunch, 10 pounds. I'm just going to go on this diet. It's easy. I follow it. I lose the 10 pounds. And then what they don't realize is that they actually end up putting that weight back on. So
I would say that they're aiming for like the low hanging fruit. It's like, what's the easiest thing I could do?
Yeah.
And for some people, that is a very appropriate starting point. But it's like, okay, what can I do immediately that's going to get me those results? And then it's like the thought process stops. And it's like, after I get those results, blank. How are you going to sustain it or do better? One of the reasons I love working here is because I generally don't always get out of my own comfort zone. And you happen to always fucking drag me out a little bit. Sorry for my language. You just push me out of my comfort zone little by little. And I think when I'm like, yo, you got to cool off for a minute. But it's a good thing because that comfort zone is really just, it's the best place ever. And it's the worst place. It feels like everything's smooth. And then before you know it, you're like, damn, I haven't done anything. I haven't gotten any better. I haven't built myself up at all. I haven't helped anybody, So I think that's a big part of like the nutrition and training too, Yeah.
And I just think that people don't take the time out to actually put themselves in that position to do that. Like, for example, that same person who I said, I just want to lose 10 pounds. But if you would have taken the actual time that it took you to understand the carnivore diet, to understand, okay, or even better, you just pick up our
probably would have lost more.
A blueprint journal that we put out on Amazon. You can literally buy this thing, fill it out, and just fill out every day. And you would have the blueprint that you need to actually succeed. But, just learning those things are going to go with you long term. I mean, I did an episode on here with one of our clients. His name is Mike. He's 65 years old. This guy's not a young spring chicken, 65 years old. And he said to me, I accomplished my goal, not with weight loss, but the fact that I understand food more. And like, yes, he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but this man never understood what a protein was before. But now he knows, okay, look, if I'm going to go out and I'm going to have a beer, I'm just going to take away some of my carbs from my earlier meal and sacrifice them for some beer that I'm going to have later. But he's balancing his nutrition now. I mean, like most people don't get that. And I think that just learning that goes far, far beyond. Then you're not sitting in front of Stop and Shop looking miserable, eating your raw meat sandwich.
Yeah, I think if people understand that, like, say somebody buys like, 24 weeks of coaching, right? And it's like, okay, cool, I'm going to do the thing for 24 weeks, but it's like you're committing to a lifestyle change. And what that entails is, working with a coach who's going to collaborate and help you, but they're going to try to help you develop skills and habits to change in that 24-week period so that your lifestyle benefits you forever.
Yeah.
That's like the big thing about like nutrition habits and stuff like that is they're always a tool in your back pocket. Like you could understand how to manage your calories, not by even counting them, just by eating slow and drinking water. And you could take those tricks and tips with you forever and wherever you go. You want to go to Seasons 52 or Chipotle and you don't want to eat, you don't want to order 2 burritos, eat the first one really slow. You don't have to take a phone. You don't have to look at your portions. Just eat it slow. Those are the skills that help people change their lives instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to eat meat forever and every single meal. But what does that teach you about it? It means that is meat the only thing that's good? And is raw meat the only thing that's beneficial for the body? What about carbs, vegetables, fats,
Well, let's go. We didn't even discuss this, Tom. I mean, we didn't even discuss science here, but so now you're following this diet, right? You are eating meat like crazy, even if it's raw cheese, raw milk. He was drinking cow's piss or whatever he was drinking in that video.
Camel milk.
Whatever it was, camel milk, whatever the hell he was drinking. So now you're eating all this stuff, right? Let's just say he's eating all this crap. I'm picking on this poor guy. I feel bad. I don't know his name or whatever. And I'm going to pick on him. I'm just using an example because he put
nothing personal, man.
Yeah, nothing personal. But now you're drinking, cow's milk, camel milk, whatever it was. And, now you start noticing like, hey, I lost the 10 pounds that I initially wanted to lose, but now I'm not losing any more weight.
Yeah, what's next?
What's next? Now you got to go for like, I don't even know. Where do you go from there? How do you lose more? And it's because these people forget that, your body only sees calories, protein, carbs, fats, vitamins, minerals, etc. It doesn't see the food. It just sees the amount. So now if you would have learned this process from the beginning, it's like, okay, if you want to follow the carnivore diet, that's great. You can follow it, but you still have to be counting how many calories that you need, how much protein, how much carbs. Carbs would be 0 in this case, but how many grams of fat? Because now, this guy, I think he was like 55 days into his like eating way. Now you're down 50, you're 55 days in and you're at a plateau. How do you change? Well, you don't even know how many grams of protein you're eating because all the protein you're eating is raw. So, just by the simple fact of understanding what we're trying to tell you and learning about nutrition, now you can make those adjustments and say, okay, look, I like to eat my meat raw, which is fine for you. But, now if you want to continue losing weight, then you got to cut that raw serving down from 1 pound of your raw meat to maybe half at a sitting or whatever it is. Again, it goes back to what I said. It's calories in, calories out. And by eating less, you're going to get healthier. That's it. Yeah. That's why when you switch from eating like a pig to eating a carnivore diet or this diet or that diet, you're always going to feel better first because you went from eating whatever, I'm just example, 5,000 calories every day to 2,000. And you're going to automatically feel better because now you're not eating all those extra calories. And like people forget, like people don't know one, and some people just who do know forget that that's the basis behind it all.
Yeah. I think another issue too is like people will always start like from 0 and then go straight to an extreme. And that's very bad because like you were saying, the room to progress is like, there's a low ceiling there. I was actually talking to a member last night, and they were saying, what are your thoughts on high intensity interval training? And I was like, I think it's.
I lost him. All right. Well, we'll take a short break here while I lost Tom. Hopefully he ends up coming back. I don't know what he was going to say. He was in like the cusp of what he was about to say. So I don't know what happened here. But again, I just think it goes back to what we said, just making sure that you keep track of those calories that you eat. And, you don't have to eat raw meat or anything like that to lose body fat and feel better. You just got to take care of yourself. You just got to eat less and understand the basics of nutrition. And that's that. But he left. So apparently he's out of it. I'm trying to give him a second to come back because I want to know what he was talking about, but doesn't look like he's coming back. So yes, he just texted me. So hold on. Let's trying to join again. He doesn't know what happened. All right. So we'll wait for him to come back on. I'll try to stall. Come in, texting him. But I don't know. I saw that clip online and I was just so blown away. I'm like, what? It's 2022. How is this real life? I don't understand how this is still a thing. He says it's still waiting. Join from your account. Technical difficulties, but that's what happens when you film these things live. Again, I don't know what happened here, but yeah, I was like, the state of fitness, and this is why I say all the time, it's like people look at fitness as a joke. When you tell people you're into fitness or whatever, it's like a joke. It's like a joke thing, and this is why it's a joke thing, because this is what you see. Here he is, he's back. But this is what you see online, and this is the stuff that goes viral. It's funny. I'll put out a good video. I'm in the middle of talking now because I had to save you, but
Okay.
I'll put out a good video, explaining ins and outs of nutrition. And it's like, 100 views or whatever it is, minimal amount of views. This guy eats a raw meat sandwich in the parking lot of Stop and Shop and goes viral. This just blows my mind. So anyway, Tom, continue that story because we didn't hear any of it and I'm dying to know what happened.
Right. So I was talking to a member last night, and basically we were talking about, or they asked my thoughts on high intensity interval training. I said, well, it's a useful tool for some people, but I asked why, and they were like, well, doesn't it burn a lot of calories? Isn't it like really good when you're dieting? And I said, well, it depends on the kind of high intensity interval training. Like, is it like structured conditioning work, or is it just like going to a HIIT class and just doing jumping jacks and like sprints and this like really high impact like based training session? And the moral of that like example or that like discussion was, you're trying to lose more fat, so don't go with the most difficult option, because once you start doing the most difficult thing, how are you going to manage that when you're essentially really low, like getting results? Are you going to do more difficult things? You might not have the energy. Start with the simplest thing, the least effective dose, right? So like when we work with our members, we say, you're going to follow like a meal plan, and it's going to be customized for you, and you're going to train, 2 to 5 times, 6 times per week. And we're going to have you hit like an activity goal outside the gym. And it's the easiest thing to do because, well, I shouldn't say the easiest. For some people, it's the easiest thing to do because you're going to look at your schedule and say, okay, I'm supposed to get in 8,000 steps per day. Let me time block 30 minutes this morning to go for a walk and see where I end up, and how can I do better the next day and the next day. You're going to not enhance, but you're going to get your results from managing your calories, focusing on building muscle, and then staying active. And the activity point is just walking. It's the easiest thing to do. So start with the easiest, and then when you're more conditioned or your fitness levels are higher, you can look for more demanding options. But there has to be a reason why that's coming into play with your situation.
Well, it goes back to what, now I'm going to play what you just said back on you, Tom. Well, it's easy for people to just say, okay, I'm going to follow the carnivore diet then because it's easy for me. I don't have to think. I just have meat.
Yeah. So if that's the case, I would say, how is it going to make you get better? And
so we'll role play this like we do everything else, right? So we'll role play this, Tom. So, okay, I'll be the client now. Okay, well, yeah, it'll help me lose that initial 10 pounds.
Okay. What about after those 10 pounds?
Well, then I would still keep losing, right? If I lost the 10, it would still keep working, right?
I don't think it would. I think after a certain point, your body's going to get comfortable with wherever you are, and it's going to fight you on getting more results. So when your body starts to fight you with what you're doing, what's your next step? What's your next move?
Exactly.
You kind of want to work your way backwards too. Like you could say, okay, I want to be 50 pounds down. So in order to do that, I have to do what? I have to be more active. I have to make sure I'm losing fat and not muscle, because most people want more defined bodies, more muscular bodies with just less fat on them. What is that going to mean? I'm going to have to start training, be more active, and to lose 50 pounds of fat, I'm going to have to make sure I'm managing how much food I'm eating, because that's a really big part of it. And then what if I hit a plateau? What is my next move? How long do I expect to get results for? Am I for 24 weeks? Am I going to stop doing it for a certain time? There's lots of questions. There's lots of appropriate moves you can take at certain points too, to make sure you're not just, spinning your wheels, dieting and you're miserable and then you gain all the weight back. There's appropriate moves at certain points along people's journey.
Yep. I agree, man. So I think we beat this up pretty good. I mean, listen, if you want to follow the carnivore diet because you like to follow the carnivore diet, then that's fine. But if you're going to eat raw meat, like you don't have to. I just want people to know, like, if you like, I don't care what anybody does. I'm pretty simple like that. Like, if you like to do that stuff and you want to eat your meat right in front of Stop and Shop's front door, that's fine with me. Go ahead. But when it bothers me when people see that stuff and they're like, that's what I need to do to feel better. And that's like beyond wrong. So if you like the carnivore diet and that's like what you want to follow, that's fine with me. Go ahead. but still take the time to learn the basics of nutrition. So this way you can be successful when you start craving a banana and you don't know what to do to how to put that banana into your meal plan, because carnivore, you're not allowed to have a banana. But it just keeps it very, very simple. Understand, take the time to learn nutrition, and don't get caught up in all this stuff that you see online. Like I said, I don't care. You can eat raw meat all you want, but the problem becomes when people start to do those things because they think that that's what's going to take them to the next level, and that's not what's going to take you to the next level. So if you liked this episode, check out the links in the description. And if you're interested in taking yourself to the next level, head on over to our website, abfitnesscenter.com. And until the next time, we will see you then. Tom Merck, Coach AB, and we're out.
Peace.